Dear friends, welcome to the Essentials of Inorganic Chemistry. I am Dr. Viri Bhatt, and today onwards I am going to discuss a chapter entitled Reactions in Octahedral Complexes. Though I have broadly mentioned the term reactions, we will be discussing only the substitution reactions. This is the first talk in this series, and today I will explain you the energy changes in the reactions. So here we begin. In order to understand the energy changes involved in substitution reactions or in general any reactions, let us consider a hypothetical reaction as shown in the highlighted section. A plus B bond C gives A bond B plus C. So let me explain you the terminology involved in writing this reaction. In this reaction, B bond C is called a BC molecule or a substrate. So substrate is a reactant molecule in which some bonds are broken and some new bonds are formed. In this reaction, you can see that BC is converted into AB. Then the molecule AB, it is called the product, and the molecule C is called the byproduct. What is this molecule A called? The molecule A is called attacking reagent. Attacking reagent is a reagent which attacks on the substrate to give the product. Now the attacking reagent can be of two types: electrophilic and nucleophilic. The electron loving attacking reagents are called electrophilic attacking reagent, whereas the nucleus loving attacking reagents are called nucleophilic attacking reagent. In most of the substitution reactions in the complexes, you will find that the attacking reagent is a nucleophilic attacking reagent. Now, my entire discussion in this lecture is going to be around these two figures. I will be explaining you these two figures. Friends, these figures are called potential energy curves. I have shown actually two figures. Both of them are similar but not the same. The figure on the left hand side is about an exothermic reaction, whereas the figure on the right hand side is about an endothermic reaction. Now I will explain you the elements in the potential energy curves. You can see that on the y-axis I am showing potential energy, that is the energy because of position. For the sake of simplicity, you can simply call it energy. So in the upward direction, the energy increases. When you take a look at the x-axis, you have the time. So the time is increasing in x direction. What you are trying to say is, with the time the reaction is going to progress. So in place of time you can also write reaction progress. On the x-axis you are showing the reaction progress, and on the y-axis you are showing the potential energy. Now we are talking about this reaction, this hypothetical reaction. A plus BC gives AB plus C, where A is the attacking reagent, BC is the substrate, AB is the product, and C is the byproduct. Then let us understand the terms involved from the beginning. You see, what is the difference between these two figures? The difference starts from the beginning. At the reactant stage, you can see that the energy is high in case of the first figure, that is the exothermic reaction, whereas low in case of the second figure, that is the endothermic reaction. Now you know, exothermic reactions are the reactions which liberate heat upon the completion of the reaction or upon reaction. So what happens? You can see here that the energy of the reactants is more than the energy of the products. And always remember that there is an inverse relationship between energy and stability. So if the energy of the reactants is more than the energy of the products, then you will be able to say that the reactants are less stable than the products, or you can say that products are more stable than the reactants. And all the atoms, ions and molecules, they are trying to become stable. So if the reactants are less stable and products are more stable, then the reaction will be relatively easier, and such reactions are called exothermic reactions. Now in the curve that I have shown, this one, this is actually the path or the road on which the reactants will travel to give the products. You will see that in terms of potential energy or in terms of energy, when you react A and BC, then initially the energy will increase, which is the energy required to be supplied. You know, whenever you actually carry out some reaction, you generally mix the reactants and then heat it a little bit. At that time you are actually supplying some energy. So you have to supply some energy like this. So the energy of the reactants will increase and it will reach to a maxima, and at that stage an intermediate will be formed. Here you will see that you have A, then broken bond, then B, then broken bond, then C. This intermediate is a transition state. It is called an activated complex. It is the highest, it is having the highest energy. Here the bond breaking and bond making processes are going on. This will have highest energy and therefore minimum stability. So if you want to carry out a reaction, you have to heat it and you have to send the reactions to a potential energy where an intermediate or the transition state or an activated complex is formed. In order to send these reactants to the intermediate or the activated complex stage, you have to supply some energy, and this energy is different for different reactions, and this energy is the difference in energy between the energy of reactants and intermediate or the transition state or the activated complex, and that energy is called activation energy. So that is shown in the figure. Now once the reactants have reached the activated complex or made the activated complex or reached the transition state, then it will start releasing energy and the path becomes simple and easy. So it will move downwards. The energy will decrease and the stability will increase. Now here is a point where the energy of the product or the intermediate product becomes equal to the energy of the reactants, and then still the reactants move downwards to give the product. So there is a difference between the energy of the reactants and energy of the products, and that difference is called heat of reaction. So this much energy is released when this particular exothermic reaction takes place. Now friends, in a reaction, say you are taking 1 mole of A and 1 mole of BC. But 1 mole is equal to 6.02 into 10 raised to 23 molecules. That is millions, billions and trillions of molecules. In an exothermic reaction, the interesting thing is that if you heat it a little bit, then it will happen, if the reactants are heated a little bit, then it will happen that some of the molecules will acquire the energy which is sufficient to make the transition state or this intermediate, and once they reach this transition state, then the road is very smooth for them, so they will form the products, and when they form products, then energy equal to the heat of reaction will be released in the atmosphere. This energy can be utilized by the remaining reactant molecules to activate themselves to form the transition state. So this becomes a cyclic kind of process, that the energy released because of the formation of some products will be used in reacting the remaining reactants. So the difference between an exothermic reaction and an endothermic reaction is that you have to just give small amount of energy to initiate the reaction in case of exothermic reactions. Afterwards, this heat of reaction will be utilized for the further reaction. So now I will take you to the second figure, which is about the endothermic reaction. Here, as I told you, you can see that the energy of the reactants is less, means the reactants are stable as compared to the energy of the products. The reactants are more stable than products, and this is an endothermic reaction. So if you have to carry out this reaction, then you have to supply more energy. This much energy is required to be supplied. Actually, this arrow should go downwards also. So large amount of activation energy is to be supplied, and then an intermediate is formed. Once intermediate is formed, the energy is released, and that energy will form the products. But what happens after every molecular transformation? You have to additionally supply this much energy, that is heat of reaction. The energy required for these reactants to get converted into products will become the summation of the heat of reaction and the activation energy every time. So for conducting endothermic reactions, you have to continuously supply the energy. So that was something about this, the description of these figures, and now I will explain you the text. First of all, the label. This figure is the figure indicating the energy changes involved in exothermic and endothermic reactions. So as I told you, in this reaction the species A and B, C are reactants, while A, B and C are the products. The reactants are converted into products through a transition state or the intermediate, which involves the formation of an activated complex. I have already shown you the activated complex in this square bracket. The activated complex is a high energy molecule with partial bonds. It is not having the full bonds. So this activated complex is not a true molecule and it cannot be isolated. It is having maximum energy and minimum stability. The energy required for the formation of this activated complex is the difference between the energy of the reactants and the energy of the activated complex, and this energy is known as activation energy. Now I have already explained you, irrespective of the reaction being endothermic or exothermic, the reactant molecules must be supplied energy for the successful transformation. In case of exothermic reaction, the energy of the product is lower than the energy of the reactants. So this reaction energy delta H, which I have already shown you in the figure, is the energy released at the successful transformation. And in case of exothermic reactions, if initially few reactant molecules are activated externally, that is heated, and some molecules are successfully reacted, then the energy released due to the transformation to the products becomes the driving force for the excitation of some more reactant molecules, and as a result the reaction then continues without external supply of energy. While in case of endothermic reactions, the energy of the products is higher than the reactants, and therefore the reactants must be continuously supplied external energy for the reaction to continue. Now this also I have already explained you. A reactant molecule in which some bonds are broken and some new bonds are formed is known as substrate. Thus in the reaction that we are studying, BC molecule is the substrate. This reaction proceeds when the molecule A attacks the substrate. Hence the species A in the reaction is called attacking reagent. Now if the attacking reagent is electron loving, then it is called electrophilic attacking reagent, and the example is nitrosonium ion NO+, bromonium ion Br+. These are the molecules which are deficient of electrons, having positive charge, and hence they will attempt an electrophilic substitution reaction on the substrate. But in most of the cases you will see that in the coordination chemistry the attacking reagents are nucleus loving or nucleophiles, and they will be chloro Cl-, hydroxo OH-, cyano Cn-, etc. These are electron rich, they are having negative charge or the lone pair of electrons, and therefore they tend to replace some other ligand on the substrate molecule by a reaction called nucleophilic substitution reaction. So this was something about the energy changes involved in endothermic and exothermic reactions. So in the next lecture I will be discussing the mechanism of the substitution reactions in octahedral complexes. So till then, thank you and goodbye.